Hey kids, how's everybody doing today? So Grandpa here from Grandpa's Farm, and bringing you another video. Go on, Lily, go on and get in there. Lily Kennel. She's being difficult as usual. Oh, you're coming right back out now, huh? Alright. Sorry about that. Maybe I should start this over again. Hey kids, Grandpa here from Grandpa's Farm, bringing you yet another episode of questions and answers of preppers versus homesteaders. But before I get into that, first I wanted to address some questions that were posed to me by some folks I have a lot of respect for. They had some questions about my opinions and some of my answers and some of the other questions. So let me address that first. The first thing that they had issue with was the necessity of pigs on the homestead. Okay, pigs are not necessary on the homestead. However, for me, pigs are necessary. Bacon, need I say anything more? Bacon. I like a Christmas ham. I like the rendered pork fat, the lard, to use for baking throughout the year. I like to incorporate pork in a number of things that I enjoy eating. I'm not a vegetarian, I'm a carnivore. You know, we're human beings. We have two different types of teeth, okay? We have our flat cutting teeth in the front like rabbits and stuff and cows, and that's made for eating vegetables and grass. Lily, get. For vegetables and grasses. And we also have our pointy teeth, which is our canines, which are made for cutting meat. Dog, get away from the camera. Get. Oh, poor baby. Sorry, she keeps bumping into the tripod. She's a little big for this small cabin. I'll grant you that. You know what? Just go back in there. Let's just leave you in there for a while. That way you can stay out of trouble. There we go. She's in her crate, nice and safe. Anyhow, so pigs, are they necessary? I also use pigs on the farm for a very specific purpose. I have a lot of areas up here in Alaska where there's a lot of willows, which are small trees that grow up. They never do become anything like a big tree. They just stay brushy areas and they overgrow the fields and pastures. I can put pigs into an area where there's willows and they'll restore it back to grassland for me. They will simply go in and root up everything. In fact, what I normally do is I'll run solar powered electric fence around it first, and I'll put the goats in there, and the goats will eat all the leaves and tear up all the bark and kill all the trees. And then I will go in usually and take a chainsaw and whack off all the trees at whatever height I feel like doing that particular day. And then I'll put the pigs into that area and they'll root up everything and dig up all the trees for me. Because these are just small, you know, sapling size stuff. So they'll go through and they'll dig all those up. And so I've cleared the land and fertilized it at the same time. Now, I'll grant you that pig manure is the least useful manure to have on the farm. You need to mix it with a whole lot of carbaceous material to make it usable. I throw the pig manure into the compost pile, or I will till it in directly where it is on the ground and let it slowly break down and become part of the soil. I tend never to keep the pigs in one place long enough for it to become toxic. You know, not like, you know, the inside of the outhouse or something. The pigs will move, and in the pen they'll go in a particular area, not all over the whole area. So you got to go in and kind of pitch it around and level it off and then till it in, and it's not too bad. So pig is the least useful manure to have on the farm, but it is useful. So for me, pigs are important because I like the bacon, I like the hams, pork chops, breakfast sausage, sausage gravy and biscuits. Can't have sausage gravy and biscuits without the sausage. They're great for cleaning up table scraps and garden scraps and recycling all of that. And I particularly like them for the lard, which is used for baking and for cooking and for other things around the homestead. So I think they serve a very necessary and vital role in the carnivore homesteader's farm. Okay. The other thing they took issue with was the necessity for 40 acres, because I said 40 acres was a minimum. And of course this came from folks that have less than 40 acres and they're being defensive. I understand that. But let me explain to you my reasoning. I am land shopping right now in Ohio. I'm trying to sell our property here in Alaska, and I'm going to go buy something in Ohio. I have 80 acres here in Alaska, which is perfect for its size for a family farm. A little bit larger would be ideal, but 80 acres is fine. I am not going to be able to afford to buy 80 acres in Ohio. The land is worth more. Why is it worth more? Because from an agricultural standpoint, it can sustain more life than the land up here can, but because of the geographical location to major urban areas and the pressure of human plight coming out on the land and its development potential, highest and greatest use of the land is to develop it into subdivisions and farms, and so the land becomes more valuable there. So, but let me defend my reasoning for 40 acres. Even in an area like Ohio, which has some of the best soil in the world, it has some of the highest carrying capacity of almost any land anywhere. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. And there's a term called a cow-calf pair. An animal unit is a cow-calf pair. Mama cow and her calf. How much land does it take to feed a mama cow and her calf for them to graze? Where I used to live in Montana, it was 20 acres. 20 acres of ground to support one cow-calf pair. In Ohio, it's like an acre and a half. So it's much higher. But even in that scenario, you have your dairy cow, which is going to have a calf with it usually, and that calf is either going to be a replacement heifer or it's going to be your beef that year. Typically, you'll have 3 or 4 cows in order to maintain a good milk supply and to turn over your milk cows on a regular basis. You need an upcoming young one. You need a bull for breeding purposes, because if the stuff hits the fan, you're not going to be able to necessarily find a bull for breeding. You're certainly not going to be able to get semen for AI. All that technology is going to be gone. So you need 2 acres per cow. So figure minimum, you need 4 acres for your dairy operation, okay? Now, in order to have that dairy operation, in order to have all the poultry that you're going to want to have, chickens, ducks, turkeys, geese, what have you, you need room for them. Turkeys, chickens, ducks, and geese, you can put all that on an acre, no problem. Pigs, 50 by 50 foot area, maybe 100 by 100 foot area, all they need, not a problem. Goats, pretty much the same thing, not a problem. Cows, you need more acreage, and now you need room to feed. You need to grow the grain for all these things, right? You need the hay and the barley and the wheat to feed all them. Now's when you're starting to talk about all that acreage, okay? How many acres of land does it take to raise enough grain to feed your flock of chickens, turkeys, ducks, geese, feed your hogs? How much food does a pig eat? To get it from birth to market weight. Well, let's say from weaning, because you're not feeding that animal during its weaning process. You're feeding the sow, but let's say you're from that animal. How much food is that pig eating? What's the conversion ratio? How many pounds of food does it take to make a pound of pork? So you need to know that information, which goes back to my saying in my videos, don't be investing in silver and gold, invest in land and the knowledge to know what you're doing. You need to know how many acres of land it takes to raise how many pounds of grain to feed that animal for the year. You're also going to need pasture. And in order to work these fields, you're going to need draft animals. You're going to need some horses to pull plows and discs and cultivators and harvesting equipment, okay? You're going to need a horse for transportation, because if you're living out in a farm area, you're going to have to get to town, and it might be a 15, 20-mile walk. So you're going to need horse for transportation. So now you need the ground for those horses, again, 2 acres or so per animal. And now you need the land for growing and cutting the hay and for raising the grain to support those animals. So if you're, just a prepper or a homesteader and, you're going to Walmart and what have you, that's fine. Then don't worry about it. But if you're serious about being able to survive a, stuff hits the fan scenario, then you have to worry about all these things. You need to make sure you have enough land. I am not a prepper and a, world's going to end kind of a person. I think life's going to continue to go on, and I'm going to be able to continue to go to the feed store and buy my feed. So I'm not worrying about the fact that I have to have so much acreage. I'm looking, if I'll be happy if I can find 20 acres, especially if half that or a good portion of that is woods. Because I'm not thinking that I'm going to have to raise all those feed crops in order to feed my farmyard, okay? Anyhow, that's my reasoning for 40 acres. Now, there's another thing I want to touch base on in here. I've been seeing a lot of these videos, sort of unrelated but yet related, talking about going to store. I've been seeing all these videos that people have been doing about going to Walmart or Costco and having the Costco haul, and they bring it home and they do a video about all the stuff that they bought. Let me put this in perspective for you. If I go to Walmart, if I go to Kmart, I don't go to Kmart anyway, but if I go to Walmart or if I go to Costco, to me that is the walk of shame. As a farmer and as a homesteader, that's the walk of shame, because I am going there having to buy all the things that I was not prepared for, smart enough, capable of raising for myself. I see these folks go and they do a whole video about, oh, I went to Costco and I bought this and I bought that. Okay, you're proud of yourself. You made enough money that you could afford to go and stock up on all these things. And in our society today, we do have the ability of buying some things that we can't get locally. I particularly have a fondness for good quality cheeses that come from all over the world, because I enjoy variety. Realize that if we're in a stuff hits the fan situation, variety is going to go out the window. You're going to be stuck with whatever you can make. Again, needing the knowledge, know how to make those cheeses, which is why you need the dairy cow. So I don't understand this. I don't understand this going out and making a video about, oh, I went to Costco and look at all the crap I bought. Why would I care that you went to Costco and spent a bunch of money, way too much money, on foods that you should have been able to raise and grow yourself? I don't get it. If I'm wrong and that's something that's interesting to folks, please let me know, because I'm sadly mistaken as to how things should be. But that's just the way it is. Okay, brings me to another subject matter, how things should be. I am a old, gray-haired, curmudgeonly kind of guy sometimes. It's been a real sad time for me lately, so I've been really grumpy and in a bad mood going through a divorce and all that. I apologize for that. I can assure you it's going to get better. But along with that kind of curmudgeonly thinking is, I like to hold myself to a very high standard. I believe in service to your community. Right now, I am not actively involved in any service for my community here because I'm in the process of selling and moving. But in the past, I served many, many years as a volunteer firefighter, served on the board for the fire department. I've served on the boards for numerous civic organizations, everything from Rotary to the Realtors Association to 4-H. I am a 4-H advisor and instructor in a number of disciplines: shooting sports, photography, dog, animals, all kinds, woodworking, different things. And I also I'm not currently, a CASA, a court-appointed special advocate, guardian ad litem, where we help youth in need go through the court system as their parents are dealing with whatever issues. So the responsibility of the CASA is to represent the child through that process. I believe in service. Okay, I believe that everybody should contribute to their community to make it better, to be part of the solution to help what's going on in your community. And as a result of my experience with that, I hold myself to a very high level of ethics and standards and responsibility for my fellow man. There's some folks in the homesteading market media here, genre, that talk about be the solution to the problem, don't be the problem. And that's great, and I agree with that. But sometimes, being misguided slightly and trying to help people out, they do some things unintended, and I'm going to address that right now. And I'm sorry to pick on these particular people. I'm not going to mention their names. You'll probably know who they are if you're following this genre. But They brought up in a live cast the idea of doing a U.S. government-backed, zero money down funding program for purchasing property. So you could go out and buy your family farm. Folks, I'm a real estate broker. So normally you would think I would be 100% behind anything that's going to help people buy land, because then I could sell them the land, I can make my commission, I make more money, right? Well, this is where my ethics tends to get in the way with my income. A government-backed program means it's backed by me, because I'm part of the government. Okay? So if somebody were to go and get one of these zero money down government-backed loans, I think it's great that someone could do that and go and get that assistance. However, here's what happens. And don't take my word for it. Check the statistics yourself. The vast majority, and I'm talking like 75 to 80% of those mortgages fail. Why do they fail? Because the people aren't vested in the property. If you buy a piece of property, zero money down, you haven't earned any of the money that's gone into buying that property to put the down payment on it. You have not gone through that exercise and that pain to save the money to start buying that property. You have nothing vested in that property. It's real easy to wash your hands and walk away from it. You're not losing anything. You're not out any money. Walk away from it and you're free. And people do. They do it in droves. And when they do that, it costs money because all of those loans are now defaulted. So Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, all these government agencies have to step in, foreclose on those properties, turn around and resell them again, and go through that expense of all the legal hassles and tying up the courts and what have you. Anyhow, it's a huge nightmare. The majority of those mortgages do fail, and that failure costs the government. People, we are the government. Okay, we the people, we are the government. So when it costs the government, it costs you. So if you go out and get this zero money down deal for yourself, and then you walk away and default on that loan, it costs me money. I don't like that. It costs everybody money. It costs more people money, and it hurts more people than it helps. That very small percentage of people that do take advantage of those loans and do pay those loans off and are successful with it is a very, very small part of our society, which is why I tend to, well, just not go that direction. Anyhow, I've got more to do on another video. I'm going to break this up into two. My next video is going to be asking the questions about, answering questions that are on the preppers versus homesteaders. And so that will be coming out here shortly. So anyhow, folks, have a nice day. I'm glad you enjoyed this, or at least I hope you enjoyed this. And please like and subscribe. Thanks.